you pace yourself and when do you sprint toward the finish line? And this is the fun of we're not down the stretch yet, but we're a third of the way there. So our guys are they used to running this race and they know how to run it.
That was Astros skipper Dusty Baker earlier today. Is the Astros, believe it or not, already a third of the way through the baseball season. Good evening, everyone. Welcome yet again to the Fox 26 Sportstream. A day late, hopefully not a dollar short. As always, I'm Sal Manine, sports producer here at Fox 26. We're going to touch on the Astros, take stock of where they are now, a third of the way through this marathon as we're back to playing 162 in the MLB. They're just getting set to get underway up at Minute Maid Park. Sox and the Astros as Houston goes for its fourth win in a row and a chance to take the series against the Red Sox after Houston really struggled over the weekend, but has gotten some great starting pitching each of the last three games, and they're hoping Framber Valdez can continue that trend tonight and the Astros can keep things rolling along and they slowly start to get more reinforcements. We're also going to talk about the coaching carousel, some major moves in the coaching ranks in both the collegiate and the pro ranks, including one big coaching hire here in Houston that I'm sure a lot of Astros fans will be excited to hear about. So we'll get to all that and even talk some college hoops as we roll along here for the next half hour or so. But I want to start with the Astros. As I mentioned already, more than last night was actually put them one game past the third of the way mark. Houston sitting there at 30-24, still just a half game back of the A's for first place in the division, but they're right there in the mix. Obviously, they're not on the same torrid pace that Astros fans had seen the last few years where they were barreling towards 100-plus wins each of the last few seasons each of the last full 162-game seasons. But they're still right there in the mix in the American League. It doesn't look like any AL team is going to get to 100 wins, and the Astros are right there with really everybody because 2/3 of the AL is all at 500 or better. It's only the Tigers, Twins, Rangers, O's, and Angels that are below 500 at this point, a third of the way through the season. But the Astros, 4 games back of Tampa, who's just been playing blistering baseball over the last month plus, but they're kind of where you would want to be if you're Dusty Baker. And if you don't believe me, that's just what he had to say yesterday as his guys officially hit the 1/3 mark of this baseball season. Here's Dusty.
He's been working out in the outfield, ball. We're at the third the season mark. And so, to be where we are and it is pretty cool. And, we're only going to get better, as our guys get, as Framber gets deeper into games, as, to be without, McCullers, one of our aces, as Urquidy gets deeper into games, as Orizzi gets deeper into games, this will only help us and only make our bullpen better at the same time. So, I feel very fortunate. We've come through COVID, we've come through, injuries, we've come through a lot of stuff, and here we are still here. And I know everybody wants us to do better, but sometimes you're at the mercy of the injury bug, and guys still are going to get better during the course of the season. And as it goes on, the hitters usually get sharper, and it's a matter of mental and physical strength, from here to the end of the finish line.
Again, that was Dusty Baker assessing where his team's at. You heard him mention a few different pitchers, and that's really been the key for the Astros is how do they navigate 27 outs over the course of a full campaign now. And the injury bug is definitely bitten this pitching staff, is just about everybody has had to endure some time off or some kind of ailment. Lance McCullers Jr. currently on the IL, but Houston got a big boost with Jake Odorizzi and Framber Valdez returning to the lineup, and they're hoping that Framber can slowly build himself up to the point where he can go 6, 7, 8 innings each start, as opposed to over the weekend. That's kind of what hurt the Stros in those first 2 games against the Padres, where the bullpen was unable to hold on to the lead. It's because they had to use so many pitchers, since Odorizzi and Valdez are just coming back from injury and were not able to give them a lot of length in their starts. That's been the difference over these last 3 games that they've won, especially it just looked to last night to have a young guy like Luis Garcia go out there, a career high 7 innings of 1-run baseball, did exactly what Houston needed to put them in a position to win the game and to not have to tax that bullpen. And he's proven now over the last 3 starts that, as Dusty Baker says, he belongs in the big leagues. He's won each of his last 3 starts. And so now when Lance McCullers Jr. does come back and is back to full strength, now there's some flexibility with the Houston rotation. And that also means that they can move a guy like Luis Garcia or Christian Javier, who's already been moved to the bullpen, and that can help alleviate some of the issues. Because if there is one Achilles heel to this Astros team, a third of the way through the year, it's been the relief pitching. And that's kind of the story every year, every contender. That's what they're going after at the trade deadline. But you have to think that that's what Houston is going to have to do. James Click is going to have to be aggressive to find arms that Dusty Baker can rely on to go out and then build that bridge to Ryan Pressly, and to try to limit Pressly to only have to come out to get 3-out saves, start an inning fresh, and not have to use him day in, day out. Because we've seen that's where the issues with the Stros bullpen have been, is when they have to rely so heavily on just Ryan Pressly to try to get them through their later innings. Want to take a look at some of the stats. Again, if there's any problems with this Houston team, and it's going to be with the pitching side and specifically the relief pitching. You see their bullpen ERA 20th in the league, whip, walks, hits per innings pitched, that's 19th, and batting average against 19th in the league in terms of where they are right now, because there's not a lot of guys who you can tell that Dusty Baker trusts. And part of it is because they've had so many injuries and so many guys have been shuffling back and forth between Sugarland and Minute Maid and trying to find those guys who can eat up innings, because the starters have not been 100%. The thing that's kept Houston in this race so far, and is the reason that they are 6 games above 500 entering the night, is their lineup. And you see Houston right there at the top or near the top in just about every category. Lead the league in runs scored, in batting average, 3rd in on-base percentage, 4th in slugging, 2nd overall in OPS. And I know that that's one that the coaching staff has to love at the bottom. Fewest strikeouts in the entire MLB. And so it's been the offense that's carried the Stros so far, and it's an offense that has not been at 100%. Obviously, Michael Brantley's still out. Dusty Baker says they're hoping that in the upcoming road trip, Stros will have a getaway game tomorrow against the Sox, and then they go on the road for the next week. That's where they're hoping that Michael Brantley can return to the lineup. Obviously, Yuli Gurriel and Yordan Alvarez made their returns to the lineup, so they need that lineup to keep doing what it's doing until they can get this pitching staff up to 100%, and then James Click can try to find some kind of help for guys like Ryan Stanek and Ryan Pressly at the back end of the bullpen. Now, I mentioned Yordan returned to the lineup last night. Tonight, he's making his return to the field, getting the start out in left field. That's the next hurdle he has to get over as he recovers from that offseason knee surgery. He's looked good at the plate, starting things off, hit a little bit of a lull before he had to take some time off with a minor injury. But now he says he's feeling good. And so the question is, can he go out there and, even if it's not every day, play in the outfield? Or Dusty Baker said they are going to look to him at some point to even play some first base. But him not having to take up the designated hitter spot every single night gives Dusty a chance to give some of his other veterans a chance to get off their feet like Jose Altuve tonight, who's going to be DH. And so here was Dusty earlier today on Yordan Alvarez making his return to playing in the outfield.
When do you pace yourself and when do you sprint? Bat. He's been working out in the outfield, every day, taking extra balls off the bat. The ballpark, is conducive for him to play left field. He's familiar with it. Also, Altuve, the DH today, I think he, needs that. Garcia needs to, to play as well. The only one drawback is if I have to take him out late in the game for defense and they tie the game up, who's going to take that spot in the fourth spot, the cleanup spot, if they tie it up or late in the game or whatever. So that's the major decision there. And, you guys have been asking every day, when is he going to play the outfield? You know what I mean? So, and he's been asking as well. So, today was as good as any.
So that's what it's going to be with Yordan Alvarez. Can he go out there and play every inning and hopefully, if you're a Astros fan, be able to not have to leave late in the game because of a defensive reason, and then the game gets extended and all of a sudden you're without your big bat in that cleanup spot. So that's what Dusty Baker is going to have to try to navigate is, again, Jose Altuve shifts to the DH role. And if Yordan can prove that he's healthy, and then once Michael Brantley comes back, and Dusty said the plan is, again, going to be for Brantley to take most of the reps at left field. He said really it's only when they have to play on artificial turf that's what kind of aggravated things with Michael Brantley and why he's been out for the last few games. Otherwise, they want Brantley out there and left, and then if they need to give somebody else a shot at DH, that's where Yordan Alvarez perhaps shifts to first base for a game here or there. So certainly something to keep an eye on if you're a Astros fan as far as what's happening with Yordan Alvarez and his continued recovery from off-season knee surgery. Now, I did mention there's been a lot of moves in the coaching world going on. We'll get back to one of the big moves on the baseball diamond as far as coaches go, but we have to start with perhaps the biggest coaching name, one of the biggest coaching names out there, who has decided he's ready to call it a career, and that's Mike Shashefsky, Duke head men's basketball coach, who has decided earlier today. Jeff Goodman was the first to break the news that this upcoming campaign is going to be his last season, and then he is going to retire after what it was already a Hall of Fame career. He was inducted 20 years ago, but he still has Duke, even though, yes, they did not go to the tournament last year, and they had all kinds of issues with COVID that they, like so many other teams, had to deal with, but otherwise, Duke is still recruiting at an elite level, still contending for ACC championships, still contending for Final Four berths, and now they're going to try to ride off into the sunset as Coach K has announced that this upcoming campaign is going to be his last. And his resume is second to possibly only John Wooden, if not past that, depending on how you want to interpret things in men's college basketball. But more than 1,100 career wins. That's the most all-time in men's D1 hoops. 5 national titles, 12 trips to the Final Four. And as I mentioned a second ago, he was already inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. So Coach K stepping aside, his former player, current assistant, protege, John Shire, has already been tabbed as his successor, and he will take over for his coach and you want to talk about some lofty shoes to have to fill, those of perhaps the best coach, certainly of his generation in men's college basketball. I was talking to some folks down on Tobacco Road today who have already had to go through this with Roy Williams at North Carolina, who just decided to hang it up. And they said in the case of both Shashefsky and Roy Williams, a big reason that they feel now is the time for them to move on, even though their teams are still getting it done, is not only are they now both in their 70s, but the world of college athletics is changing drastically. Between the transfer portal, we have name, image, likeness that's coming down any day now. It's going to become the new law of the land. And so a lot of the old guard just said, I don't want to have to deal with all that, navigate the new world in which you live in if you're trying to be a big-time college coach. And recruiting is now a 24/7, 365 ordeal. You have guys going early to the NBA, so you can understand why perhaps Mike Shashefsky, who's 74, he'll be 75, I believe, early next year when the ACC schedule starts, why he would say, I've got nothing else to prove. I'll let John Shire, Nolan Smith, and the rest of these young guys have to figure this out. But one of the biggest names in basketball, stepping aside, he's going to finish out the upcoming 2021-2022 season, and then that's it for Mike Shashefsky. And you have to wonder, are we going to see kind of the last of the old guard follow suit now that Roy Williams has stepped down, now that Coach K stepped down? Does Jim Boeheim at Syracuse wait another year or two? Obviously, he's got two sons now actually still on his team. Kelvin Sampson just signed an extension, but he's been up front that he's not planning to do this forever and ever. And you know that the Cougs have already tabbed his son, Kellen Sampson, to be his successor. So you have to wonder, as we continue to see the evolution of college athletics, just how that is going to play a role in some of these big names and whether or not they're going to want to remain on the sideline. Now, one guy who is making the jump to college coaching is a name and face that folks here in Houston are very familiar with. In fact, going all the way back to his own collegiate playing days, and that's Lance Burkman, who was officially named the new head baseball coach at Houston Baptist on Monday. It was a story Mark Berman first reported on Twitter late Sunday night. Lance confirmed that this has always been a dream of his to get into college coaching. Of course, he starred at Rice, was part of a group that really helped turn things around under legendary coach Wayne Graham, and then kickstarted that tremendous run that the Owls went on throughout the 90s and early 2000s. And Lance said because of how positive his experience was at Rice, he wants to try to bring that to the next generation of ball players. Here's Mark Berman and Lance Burkman and all the HBU brass on what it means to find their new head coach who will be leading the Huskies baseball team.
Meanwhile, former Astros star Lance Burkman was officially named the new head baseball coach at Houston Baptist University. It's a story Fox 26 Sports reported first Sunday on Twitter and on Fox 26 News at 9. Burkman told Fox then a move like this, coaching at the Division I level, has been a goal of his since retiring after 15 years in the big leagues, where he was a six-time All-Star, helped lead the Astros to the World Series in 2005, and the Cardinals to a World Series title 6 years later. Recruiting is the lifeblood of sports in college, and Lance's message to recruits will be,
let's build a winner. I mean, this is an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of a place that's going to win. And, I know how special that is from my time at Rice. When I first came in, Rice hadn't won squat. They were the doormat of the Southwest Conference, and myself and several others obviously had contributed to turning that thing around, and it's something that is a special opportunity. So the same opportunity exists here at Houston Baptist, and one of my sales pitches will be, hey, you be the guy. Like there's going to be a guy or a group of guys that come in and totally change this program, and you can be that guy.
Lance says with remarkable certainty the Huskies will win on his watch.
Oh, yeah, we're going to win. I mean, there's no question about that. I've won pretty much everywhere I've been, so I know what it means to be a winner. I know what it means to be on a winning team. I know what it takes to win, and we're going to do it here.
We really do think that with this hire, we have elevated not just the baseball program, but the whole athletic department, quite frankly. And certainly what we're looking for is we have always had what's been known around town as a pretty good baseball team. We want to get beyond that.
Lance and Steve will need help doing just that, and upgraded facilities will play a key role.
We are working on raising a lot of funds for athletic facilities. We need to finish our football stadium. We need to build a basketball arena, and we want to put lights in the stadium facade on our baseball field. So we have a lot of athletic facilities that, Lord willing, will be upgrading significantly over the next several years.
White Sox manager Tony La Russa, the Hall of Famer, applauds HBU for hiring Lance.
1 year with him, he was, we played against him all those years and had great respect from the other side. But he's one of the best teammates you can have. But he knows how to have fun. But when a game starts, great competitor, loves the game. He has a real good knowledge. I'm so proud that he's going to share it with the kids at the college. He's got that personality where people, they want to be around him. They're going to listen to him because look at his history. He's one of the best clutch players in our league for all those years. And we saw it on our side there in 11. So I'm really pleased for him.
Again, that was Mark Burkman reporting. Is Lance Burkman is going to have an opportunity not just to try to take over a program that has had some success in the Southland Conference, but now you're talking about a former All-Star, World Series champ, a guy who is in the Astros Hall of Fame, who doesn't have to go that far, right in his own backyard. If you can recruit the Houston area, there is loads of talent to be had. Last week we heard from Rice Athletic Director Joe Carlgard, is obviously the Owls are in the midst of a search for a new baseball coach. And he said that Wayne Graham told him years ago the two most talent-rich counties for college baseball prospects in the entire country are Orange County, California, and Harris County right here in Texas. And so if Lance Burkman is able to get enough guys to buy in, there's no reason, especially if HBU is serious about making the upgrades to their facilities, that you start to get some of these Houston kids to stay home, play for a guy with the pedigree that Lance Burkman has. And if he gets the right staff around him, some other guys who can help not just recruit, but help him as a first-time head coach, then there's a chance that you can build HBU into something. Now, you want to talk about talent at the high school level. We're in the middle of the baseball playoffs for high school. The regional finals getting started tonight, the 5A tournament or the 5A final, and then the 6A regional final starts tomorrow night. It's Jersey Village and Straight Jesuit in the 6A, and then in 5A, one of the best teams in the entire country, Friendswood taking on Barbers Hill. Friendswood had not lost a game until the regional semifinals. They dropped game 2 to College Station before rebounding over the weekend to take that and secure their spot in the 5A regional final. They're just getting underway up at U of H in game 1. They'll play game 2 tomorrow and then game 3 the following day if necessary. But Friendswood ranked number 2 overall in the country. They were ranked number 1 until they had that one loss in the regional semis, but they feature one of the best players in the entire country who could hear his name called in the first round of the MLB draft. Our Mark Burkman, again, has much more on the Mustangs and what they're trying to accomplish with their stellar baseball team this year.
He's ranked number 2 in the nation this week by Max Preps after being ranked number 1. Have been to the state tournament once in school history in 2008. This year, Friendswood is trying to go the distance, but first they have to get past Barbers Hill in their best-of-3 regional finals, which begins Wednesday night at UH. Friendswood 2 wins away from making the state tournament.
Awesome. I mean, the Lord's blessed us with an opportunity to do this, and I'm thankful for that. But we got to show up. We can't, like I said earlier, we can't look ahead.
The Mustangs suffered their first loss of the season after going 30-0 to College Station in Game 2 of their regional semifinals, with Friendswood bouncing back to win Game 3 and advancing.
I'm just proud of my guys, how they responded after that loss, after their first loss of the season. Because, we haven't lost in a year. Since COVID, we were on a four-game winning streak until COVID hit, and then we kind of picked up where we left off from last season. And so I'm just proud because it could have gone either way. My guys could have, taken that loss a lot harder and folded, but they didn't. They got knocked down and they got back up fighting.
A huge key to the success of the Mustangs this season is the play of 6'4", 225-pound shortstop Isaac Pacheco, signed to play at Texas A&M and considered a potential first-round pick in the MLB draft. Isaac's numbers this season are eye-popping. In 32 games, he's hitting .558, with 6 home runs, 44 RBIs, scored 40 runs, walked 31 times, and has a stunning OPS of 1,664. Isaac is trying to help the Mustangs win their first ever state title in the 46-year history of the program.
I was actually thinking about that yesterday for the first time, and it was pretty mind-boggling to really think about it. But it's pretty crazy. But with this team and the chemistry we have and the great coaches we have, it's pretty unrealistic that I think we can actually do this.
And if the Mustangs are holding the state championship trophy when it's all said and done,
I'll probably be crying a little bit, some tears, happy tears, but it'll be a great feeling.
And Isaac may yet have a big decision to make: turn pro or play college baseball. He says he's spoken with every major league team via Zoom, including the Astros.
It's a pretty cool experience getting to do that, but that was before the season, so right now, it's all I'm focused on is trying to win a state championship. We have a chance to go all the way. It's pretty easy to put those things aside, those distractions and those stuff off the field.
Isaac committed to Texas A&M at the age of 14. And even though the school parted ways with Coach Rob Childress, Isaac will stick with the Aggies if he decides to play college baseball.
For me, I wanted to go to a place that I knew I was going to stick with, because I wanted to stay true to the coaches, stay true to the school. And like I said, it's just the 12th man, the environment, Bluebell is kind of second to none in my opinion. And it's just somewhere I think you get a experience, you get to a great education, you have great coaches, and it's just like a great place to be.
Again, Friendswood taking on Barbers Hill in Game 1 tonight up at U of H. We will have those highlights plus highlights from the Astros tonight at Fox 26 News at 9, as they just got out of the top of the first inning, heading to the bottom of the first right now. It looks like it's 1-0 Sox. Hunter Renfroe looks like walked with the bases loaded to bring in the first run. So Framber Valdez gives up 2 hits, walks a couple, loads the bases to give up that 1 run, as they're now going to head to the bottom of the first up at Minute Maid. So my thanks to Mark Burkman and, of course, Friendswood Baseball for letting us come out to their facilities, to HBU and Lance Burkman. And as always, for all the up-to-the-minute news and updates on everything in the Houston sports scene, be sure to follow Mark Burkman. He is at Mark Burkman Fox 26 on Twitter. We'll do it again next time, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. We thank you for joining us a day later this week, but we will do it again with the Fox 26 Sportstream. Until then, I'm Sal Manine. We'll see you next time.